Hey guys, it's Elizabeth from the Missionaries of God's Love in Tustin, California, and today we're going to talk about beware of spiritual pride. But before we dive into this topic, let us prepare ourselves for this teaching and meditation. I invite you to find a quiet place to sit. Straighten your back, relax your shoulders, and take a deep breath in. Invite the Holy Spirit to come to you. Holy Spirit, please inspire me and fill me with your presence. May I feel your grace, help, love, and strength. In all moments, may I be inspired by you, Lord. May all my actions and thoughts be inspired by you. Take another deep breath in. Okay, so today we're going to meditate about spiritual pride. As there are deadly sins of the flesh, there's also deadly sins of the spirit. Sometimes the devil deceives us, and we fall into spiritual pride. We need to be careful about this. Let us remember this. We should never boast about holiness, not even in our minds, and much less to others through actions or words. If we ever boast about sainthood, then any possibility of sainthood or any piece of holiness we have is eliminated. Real saints never know that they're saints. They're the least ones who know. Perhaps the spiritual director may know, but they would not let that person know. Some people may also know, like those who are walking in a spiritual life. The book Imitation of Christ reads, "Son, it is more useful and safer for you to cover up the grace of devotion and not to praise you or talk much about it, or to esteem it much, but to recognize yourself small and to fear, because it has been given to you without deserving it." If we have any holiness, it is thanks to God, not thanks to us. Without God, we're weak and we're just sinners. We seek for worldly things. Any virtue that we have has been given to us through God's mercy. Never think that you are a saint, because even if you are, it's thanks to God's holiness that is within you. The book further reads, "It is not good to be very attached to this condition of feeling holy, because you can move quickly in another opposite. Those who feel like a saint fall into the big sin of pride, where they feel like they're better than others and more holy than others. They may look for more opportunities where people can look at them, hear them, and applaud them. This was the sin that Pharisees and spiritual leaders committed. It was the one thing that Jesus criticized. He did not criticize the robbers or prostitutes. On the contrary, he helped them. But the Pharisees, he strongly spoke to them because they had spiritual pride, and this happens when people don't have a good spiritual director. Those who are walking spiritually and who don't want a spiritual director is a big sign that they have spiritual pride. It is a pure act of spiritual pride, and the devil is the first one to be really happy about that. The devil wants to pull you away from God's path without you realizing it. The book continues to read, "Think when you're in God's grace, how miserable and poor you tend to be without it. This is so true. And the book then says, whenever the enemy tempts you to feel superior to others for your religious actions, like fasting or any other sacrifices, think about how empty you were when you didn't have God's mercy. Never accept for yourself any praise given to you. Rather, pass them to God in your heart. Say within, if it were not for God, I would have nothing good in me. Everything is God's grace. Whenever someone gets on track in his spiritual growth, the enemy prepares to derail him, and he uses his old tricks already known by the spiritual directors, and also takes advantage of the weaknesses of each person. These are not known to his spiritual director unless he confesses them with total transparency. This is why it is so important that we have a spiritual director who we speak to about our weaknesses. Because of course the devil will tempt you and say, do not tell your spiritual director. What will he say? What will he think about you? And he'll tell us things to stop our communication with our spiritual directors, to stop our spiritual growth. Those who may have it, refuse to be guided by a spiritual director, are easy and effortless prey for the enemy to divert them. It's like a 6-year-old playing soccer against Lionel Messi. In the art of diverting those who want to walk with God, the devil has thousands of years in experience and millions of souls in his favor. Not to let yourself to be guided is to be deceived and diverted. Remember, you're a 6-year-old against Messi's experience when you believe yourself to be self-sufficient in the spiritual walk. So after meditating from the book Imitation of Christ, we learned that we should never have spiritual pride, and we learned what is spiritual pride. So please, let us never fall into that temptation. Continue meditating on this topic and tell God, "Speak to me, O Lord, for your servant is listening."